My name is Alex Kotopoulis with Oracle Data Integration Product Management. In the next few minutes, I'd like to introduce the main new features of Oracle Data Integrator 12.1.3. We have exciting new capabilities for big data. We now support Apache Scoop to quickly load data between relational databases and Hadoop. Scoop starts a number of parallel MapReduce jobs on your Hadoop cluster to load data from your source database into HDFS, Hive, or HBase. This can also be done in reverse, with the database as a target. ODI transparently does all code generation, as the following demo shows. Okay. We're starting a new mapping here for Scoop. I'm going to call it Scoop. And all you need to do for a Scoop mapping is to take the source, which is in this case a MySQL table. I'm dropping it into my mapping. And I'm going to take the target, which is an existing Hive table, and I'm dropping it into the mapping as well. Now I'm connecting the source with the target. There's going to be attribute matching to match all same named attributes. There's one different named attribute that I'm matching manually. And now all the logical design is done. We have everything from the source matched to the target. We haven't decided how it's going to be implemented. We're going to do that in the physical design. The physical design, you see that the source is MySQL, and here's the target Hive source. We can now define the load knowledge module. In this case, the load knowledge module is going to be a multi-connect knowledge module. And on the target, we're going to define the integration knowledge module. And I'm going to pick the Scoop knowledge module from SQL to Hive, HBase, and file. By doing this, I have now configured everything to use Scoop. There are a number of options that I'm going to keep as is. I'm going to use the defaults. And I'm going to start this now. I'm going to save it. And as part of the start, I'm going to simulate it to see what's going to be generated for Scoop. We see now the generated session. We see the different tasks. We see some Groovy code to execute. And we're seeing the actual Scoop configuration file that was generated by ODI. So everything is generated under the covers. You just have to do the logical design and pick that you want to use Scoop. We also now support Hadoop's HBase database natively. HBase is a non-relational key-value pair store. ODI can reverse engineer HBase metadata and use it as a source or a target, implemented by new knowledge modules. We also support the new Hive append mechanisms to append rows to an existing Hive table. Besides big data, we have improved performance of loading relational databases by automatically distributing a single load onto multiple parallel JDBC connections. This is transparent to the user, but you can limit the upper bound of parallelism in your data server configuration. ODI makes it much easier to add new sources or target in a single step. You previously had to separately define 5 different objects, and all of this can now be done in one step, as this demo shows. ODI lets you create new topology objects and models now in the File New menu. You see this new option can create a new model and topology objects, and it will open up a single dialog to create all the objects at once. I can give it a name. In this case, I'm just going to call it My Data. It will pick this name as a logical schema. It picked Oracle as a technology. You can change it to any supported technology if you want to. You can give the data server a name. In this case, I'm going to call it My Oracle. I'm going to pick a user and a password. And I'm going to specify the JDBC connection information. In this case, I'm going to give a host, the port number, and the name of the instance. Now I can test this. and it's a successful connection, so all the information is correct. I can now pick the actual database schema that I'm going to use. I can pick between the existing schemas. In this case, I'm going to pick movie demo, and for the work schema, I'm going to pick another existing schema, which is called ODI TMP. When I press OK, it will create a new model, my data, and it will also create the necessary topology objects, in this case my Oracle and the associated physical schema. So instead of creating 5 separate objects, data server, physical schema, context, logical schema, and model, you can now use a single dialog to do all at once. We have improved our security by standardizing on AES encryption and making ODI compliant to the federal FIPS standard. We use 128-bit AES keys by default, but the key lengths and the algorithm can be configured. We are also now encrypting sensitive data in all of our imports and exports. ODI 12.1.3 adds support for reading and writing JSON. This is done through a complex file adapter and can represent any nested JSON structure as a set of relational tables with key references. We have also enhanced our XML driver by now supporting the advanced constructs any type, and any attribute. And you can configure custom XML column mappings to specify field lengths and avoid name conflicts. I hope you find the new ODI 12.1.3 features useful. Thank you for listening.